Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first game in your grand final. Spawning in on the south side of the map, playing as the deli in the color red, representing Team Liquid, it is DeMusliM.
And spawning in on the northern side of the map, it is going to be Beatsyqt, playing as the Abbasid dynasty in blue. Not a civilization that we commonly see from him on Arabia, but we do have to keep in mind that the Mongols were banned from him. His probably favorite Arabia civilization was taken away. He might be reserving French for a later map, like for example Highview. So he decided to go with the Abbasids over here. There could also be some mind games involved in this one. Maybe he was expecting the Muslim to pop out the French and try to counterpick it with the Abbasids. Ultimately, we end up with an interesting civilization matchup, a civilization matchup that we actually quite commonly see. So Delhi versus the Abbasid dynasty is not an uncommon matchup on open maps, actually.
Yeah, it's one that you see quite a bit. Normally, you would expect to see it on a map like, say, Lipany, because both of those civilizations do have buried bonuses, but we've started to see players look to pick up more commonly the Rus in that matchup, and then they are very happy to play Rus into the Abbasid dynasty, but then obviously Rus into Delhi, it makes it a little bit more difficult, so there's some caveats to it, but this is, quite a common matchup. Beasty's done a great job in the early stages of this game to pick up some sheep as well. He's got plenty of sheep following his scout. How many have we got there, Salami? That's going to be close to 10 he must be running.
And in this matchup, the importance of the sheep is actually pretty massive over here. Indeed, Salami is showing us that's 9 sheep trailing this one scout over here. And there's a chance that the other scout is also being trailed by some. Indeed, look at that. There is also 6 more. So 15 sheep coming in for Beasty. And in this matchup, it's actually more important than it is in, let's say, the Abbasids versus, not even English, but let's say the French. Because both of these civilizations rely very heavily on berries. But because their gather rate is so high, they are going to deplete the berries available all across the map pretty fast. So having a bunch of extra food underneath your town center is immensely valuable. And you see, he's gonna have no shortage of sheep accessible for the next like 20 minutes or so.
That is an insane amount of sheep. What is the total number of sheep that he's got to have in there? That looked like it must be 17, 18 sheep. That was an absolute huge amount. We're going to have to start calling him Shepherd Cutie. Look at that, 18 sheep underneath the town center. That is a ludicrous amount of sheep. Keep in mind, there's what, 24 sheep that spawn out on the map, so DeMusliM is sitting over here with just four sheep under the town center. Now, did he go single scout or double scout? I guess that's another question. He did go double scout. Both players going double scout, and it's that. Wow, that is crazy, isn't it?
That's crazy, indeed. As you pointed out, 24 sheep spawn on the entire map, and 18 of them belong to Beasty. That's 75%, and that is accomplished despite the fact that DeMusliM also went for a second scout himself. DeMusliM did the right thing, it's just the fact that he was very unlucky when it comes to finding sheep, and Beasty, he has to be happy with how Dark Age went for him, because that's a big win so far.
Yeah, this is absolutely massive, and now Beasty going to turn his attention towards these villages. Over on the gold mine, Scholar going to be coming out and actually doing a little bit of a repair for this scout. Scout going to be trying its best to tee off against these units and prevent them from attacking the villagers on the gold. Second scout going to be coming back. We actually see 2 sheep in tow as well for DeMusliM. So going to be able to come back with at least 6 sheep for himself. He'll be feeling happy that he's managed to scrounge together that much, but he knows that all those sheep are going to be over on Beasty's side.
DeMusliM had to pull that Scholar to heal up his scouts, which seems fine for the time being, because now he has the HP advantage, but keep in mind that Beasty can just decide not to fight. As you see, he's splitting up his scouts, and the concern there for DeMusliM is that while that Scholar was healing, he wasn't buffing the research. So you see at the top or the left side of the screen, efficient production is still an upgrade that is unfinished for him, and he's getting very close to Feudal Age. I hope he finishes it on time, because it would be quite painful for him reaching Feudal Age and not having efficient production finished, and it's not finished yet. He's still at least like 5 or 6 seconds away from it. Not perfect start for him.
Yeah, a little bit. It's something that he does quite a bit. Delays this, delays the mosque going down. But Beasty going to be over on the other side of the map. We can see him now gathering up stone. That wheelbarrow is coming in, fresh food stuff. I suspect it's probably already in for him. I didn't actually spot that one out, but you know how these Abbasid players are. They love to get that fresh food stuff out nice and quickly. Indeed it is. So I think the question is from here, where does he look to go? Does he move in towards that archer, or rather camel archer / horseman composition? Or does he go for something a bit more spearman focused?
I think Camel Archer and Horseman can be a quite good composition over here because you're expecting the Delhi player to go for the Horseman himself, so you being able to debuff the enemy cavalry is already a nice one at the beginning, and unless the Muslim goes for mass foot archers, you should have nothing to be afraid of picking off your Camel Archers, so that could be a nice combination over here. You see, even there's a wolf there attacking those scouts. Beasty is just trying to do as much harassment on that gold mine as possible, as Sanctity is coming in for the Muslim. But Beasty, already dropping that second town center here, close to the bear is very nice spot actually, because it's also going to cover the gold mine.
Yeah, this is a great spot for that second town center. And we do see that that wolf is continuing to howl away at these scouts, trying his best to actually clean up these villagers, but just managing to push them back towards the town center. Horseman going to be repelling away those scouts, and now we see that town center almost completed. A stable going to be coming out for Beasty on the backside as well, so it definitely seems going to be focusing a bit more on mobility here.
Indeed, mobility is a key factor over here because you want to control those sacred sites. Speaking of which, we do have two sacred sites relatively close to one another on the right side, so that's probably the direction that the Muslim is going to be heading, but he's also going to lose one of his scouts over here to the town center fire.
Was that a second? I think Beasty's lost one scout himself.
Yeah.
So both players down to a single scout each. I'm not sure where Beasty's second scout made its way out to, but oh, it might be. It's behind the base of DeMusliM. There it is. But now some pressure going to be applied over towards Beasty's base. DeMusliM just hovering around that north side, that top side of the base, and looking for any villager picks that he can make. But no success just yet. All the upgrades coming through for DeMusliM. Not going to be forgetting those economic upgrades, not today. But he is going to spot out all the sheep underneath the town center and say, damn, I wish I had spawned as New Zealand today.
Yeah, he definitely wishes he had more sheep to work with, but he's going to be more than happy to pick up those sacred sites because Beasty is only up to 2 horsemen right now, so he can't really contest those. Obviously, he's going to try to delay them as much as possible. Use the scout to just keep that sacred site neutralized and force the Muslim to send some forces in there. The Muslim up to 5 horsemen already. That's where the efficient production comes into play. And you see, he already has some spearmen coming out as well. One has to wonder what exactly Beasty is planning next with his unit composition, because just horsemen here will be insufficient very soon. It's actually double stables.
Yeah, very interesting double stable opening. So I guess he can head into that mass horseman, but as you mentioned, it's very common that we do see spearmen come out from the Delhi, so you'd expect to see an archery range get dropped down sooner rather than later, but those sacred sites now are going to start getting captured up. We hear scholars moving out across the map. Beasty not in a position to really look to deny these just yet. Third sacred site over towards the west about to tick as well. There it goes. So not a bad little timing there for DeMusliM coming in. And we do finally see that archery range getting dropped down. Central sacred site does get captured. One over on the west is going to be contested, as well as the one over in the east contested, but there are horsemen here looking to try and repel that scholar, but keep in mind, no piety is going to mean that there might be a scholar that goes down. It goes down to 6 health, and now indeed the final stab comes through. Indeed, the scholar does go down, and this is the consequence of going for that late mosque. This is something that you talked about earlier, Lidakor, when we saw Delhi coming out. We said that there's 2 main builds. There's the early mosque and there's the delayed mosque. This is the delayed mosque, and now we see it getting punished.
Indeed, the berry villagers are also getting punished over here. That horseman just stabbing away over here, getting 2 kills already, and the Muslim is down to 28 villagers as compared to 39. At 9 minutes mark, that is a pretty big villager lead actually for Beasty. And if he can maintain the harassment on those sacred sites and keep decapping them, he's gonna be in a great spot over here. The Muslim is not noticing those berry villagers getting killed. He had the same issue in one of the previous sets that he has played. Lost like 10 villagers. I think he was also playing the Delhi at that time. Lost like 10 villagers to knights.
Yeah, it can be really difficult when you've got so many alarms going off, and especially if those 2 alarms happen at the same time, because then what happens is you don't get the notification again for another 20 seconds. And so you can have a unit that's under attack and then just not realize, and it's terrible. It's absolutely terrible. And DeMusliM is down a huge amount of villages now, 14 difference between these 2.
And as you pointed out, it's difficult to notice with all these attack notifications going off, and you're microing at 3-4 different places, all these sacred sites. You're also behind this one building up your eco as well, making sure that you don't forget your Feudal Age technologies, which I'm actually not sure if the Muslim is researching now if we look at his queue. Okay, he has gotten most of them already in, so he's gonna be fine. Another scholar loses his life though, and the sacred site on the right side remains uncapped. Behind this one, Beasty is slowly building up his number of camel archers as well. This is looking better and better for Beatsyqt as we move ahead.
Yeah, horseman numbers looking healthy for him. He's out with 12 horsemen on the field. A single camel archer is going to be able to debuff the camels, or rather the horses, the cavalry units that are out for his opponent. And he begins to move down towards that boar. Got to be careful not to aggro it. You don't want a boar getting in on the mix, not when you've got an army like that. Now forced away from that position. Too many spears for him to deal with, and looks to fall back towards his town center.
You gotta respect the flood of spearmen over here from the Delhi. That's one of the dangers that you face when you're playing with the camel archers. If the spearmen can close the distance, they will massacre those camel archers. And you see, this is a fight that Beasty cannot take right now. This is what DeMusliM has to do, just flood the spearmen, because the spearmen essentially counter everything that Beasty has. This is one of those scenarios where the camel archers counter the spearmen, but the spearmen also counter the camel archers. So it comes down to whether you can close the distance with the spearmen or not. And right now, it looks like DeMusliM is able to.
First camel archer going to be going down. Another raid going to be happening on that berries once again. We see the villager leads begun to build towards 21, and it's going to continue to climb if those villagers do go down. At the same time, back at home, Beatsyqt holds. He's up to 15, 17 military population. He's got a handful of idols as well. Scholars looking to try and take this eastern sacred site finally. And that's going to be the difference here for DeMusliM. He's stacking up that gold. He's up to 1,100 gold right now in the bank. So he needs to drop down that market and start looking to trade some of it out, because it can be a bit tough at this point rebalancing your economy when you've got so much damn gold coming in.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You desperately need that market, but he's lacking the wood for it. In the meantime, he's losing villager after villager on these pocket ecos, and it's getting overly concerning for him. So many villagers out there, and he's simply not noticing his food villagers getting graded, his food eco getting devastated by this one. We're soon looking at the scenario where Beasty has double the villagers as DeMusliM at minute 12. That is brutal.
Yeah, this is really hard to deal with, and you can try and, you know, get on as much copium as you like about how effective these sacred sites are, but the reality is, you know, things typically in this matchup need to go perfectly for the Delhi player, and they're not going perfectly at the moment. It's a real struggle for Demo. He's trying his best to hold on, and now going to be falling back, and I feel like this might be the consequence of just not putting down outposts. You know, one of the things that you see in the matchup against France is that Delhi players will put down these outposts, but here, maybe not giving enough respect to the Abbasid horsemen.
Yeah, you do have textiles on those villagers, but the horsemen, given time, they will still slay many of those villagers. And as you pointed out, the Delhi, they have to play this one perfectly, otherwise they could be in trouble, because the Abbasids have a very safe game plan over here. The 2 TCs, it's very difficult to punish, but this type of build that DeMusliM is doing is a little easier to punish if you can keep decapping the sacred sites and punishing these berry villagers, and that is exactly what Beastyqt is doing. But DeMusliM is the player going up to Castle Age. One has to wonder if Beasty is going to turn up the level of aggression if he sees, or when he sees, DeMusliM reaching Castle Age, just trying to go for that timing push and do some damage while DeMusliM doesn't have the upgrades.
Yeah, and keep in mind, he's happy to play a longer feudal age here as the Abbasid dynasty. We do see players look to do this quite a bit. You know, obviously, it's going to be a focus for him to get up to that castle age, but he's very happy just sticking it out in the second age. He's making villages, he's making military. He's a happy camper.
Is he a happy camper, though? You see that the landmark now is getting delayed, potentially even denied by Beastyqt. He's getting pushed away by the spearmen right now. If the camel archers were there, this would be even better. Looks like Beastyqt is getting ready to go into Castle Age, and that is a beautiful pickup. Full slaughter on the berry villagers. DeMusliM is falling down to below 30 villagers.
Yeah, this really isn't pretty right now. This is the consequence of no outposts once again. Your villagers are not going to be able to survive the masses of camels that are out here. And DeMusliM down to 21, 20, 19 villagers. This is not pretty right now for DeMusliM. Beasty is sitting on quadruple his villager count.
That is just nasty, and you see DeMusliM is doing the right things to the relics. He was standing by right next to the relics so he can pick them up immediately, but he just wasn't accounting for all those villagers getting slain. Now it's going to be the scholars getting picked off as well. DeMusliM still has a reasonable amount of army on the battlefield, but as you said, it's quadruple the villagers right now for Beasty, and Beasty is going to be up to Castle Age as well in about 45 seconds. He's gonna have that mobility as well to flank around with this many horsemen, try to lay the lumberjacks, and Beasty's like, okay, I'm going to raid your lumberjacks, and DeMusliM just doesn't have any because he simply doesn't have enough villagers to spend on that type of resource.
Yeah, this is such a hard spot for DeMusliM now, and I mean we've got our copium going at the moment pretty hard. You know, DeMuslim's got 3 relics. Yeah, copium. He's got 3 sacred sites, copium. But unfortunately, it's going to be nowhere near enough. And Beasty is just going to continue to scale into the late game with those 2 town centers.
Yeah, that's exactly it. It's like the dog sitting in the house that's on fire and it's saying, it's fine, I still have 3 sacred sites. But the key thing is that I have sacred sites right now, not in 2 minutes, because Beatsyqt, as you see, he's already decapping the sacred sites. That eco lead that Beasty has is going to translate to an army lead, and that army lead is going to translate to sacred sites being denied and decapped, which means that DeMuslim is going to lose essentially his entire resource income. Basically, his best resource income is just relics right now.
Yeah, that's literally it. That's a very difficult thing to come to terms with when you've got so few villagers that your best income is relics. But now it looks like Elephant's going to be coming out here, getting out onto the field. A lot of horsemen are out here as well for Beasty. So just remember, he's going to be able to sort of look to flank those. But if DeMuslim's got any chance, it's going to be some sort of keep drop combined with an Elephant push. But I can't help but feel like Beasty's got all the tools that he needs to deal with this.
I agree with you. Like, the key thing for DeMuslim is that he needs to take very favorable engagements. He can't afford to lose expensive units. He can't even afford to lose a single unit. He needs to take very resource-efficient trades. That can be accomplished with the elephants and the scholars healing them, but it's going to be very, very difficult, especially because Beasty is going to keep raiding you, and Beasty knows that this is the only option that DeMuslim has. Beasty is very much aware of the fact that DeMuslim's eco is a complete train wreck right now.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So all he needs to do is just play sensibly, play safe, maybe even look to go for a bit of a keep himself, maybe look to get some walls up, something like that. But he continues applying pressure. Keep in mind, he's got the mobility, and that's the key factor here, is that he's got the mobility, and he's just able to run rings around his enemy, and now going to be heading back down towards those villages. Fortunately, there are a lot of spears down there, but you can't help but feel there might need to be a few more if he wants to be able to keep those villagers alive. Looks like he's going to be able to focus down the scholar, but now heading down towards all those spearmen. You can see that the camels are just going to be able to shred them apart, and with that, the villagers are going to be exposed, just like a turtle. Got that crunchy outer shell, but then once you've cracked it open, the delicious insides. And good game gets called. DeMuslim does get cracked open, and we move on to game number 2 as the deli goes down.
A really good game here from Beasty, just realizing where he could raid. He was continuously probing those berry patches, seeing if there is any expansion from DeMuslim going those ways, and he was rewarded with fresh villager kills. Over time, his villager count just massively surpassed DeMuslim's one, and the final nail in the coffin for DeMuslim was losing that, like, 20 villagers just before reaching Castle Age. Beasty, he realized that his opponent is going into Castle Age, so that is a perfect timing for him. He had a critical mass of horsemen and camel archers to take that engagement with, dives in, picks off the villagers, and I think you cannot win a game with a villager graph like that. DeMuslim went down to like 20 villagers at minute 15.
Yeah, I mean, it was just relentless raids from Beasty. And interestingly for DeMuslim, one of the things that we didn't see was no outposts, not a lot of walls. In fact, was there any wall segments that came out? Probably not. So he was looking to just play very heads up against the Abbasid dynasty, and against a civilization that's going for that higher mobility, you can be punished, and that's exactly what he was. So yeah, unfortunate stuff coming out for him. But we do move on to our second map, where we see DeMuslim going up against Beatsyqt with the Rus